in 25 years, I've not been able to get Jesse Jackson on as a guest. I haven't been able to get Al Sharpton on as a guest, even though I've tried. I haven't been able to get on Louis Farrakhan as a guest, even though I've tried. I was able to get one so-called black leader on my show. His name is Kwesi Mfume. At the time, he was head of the NAACP. And I said, Mr. Mfume, as between the presence of white racism or the absence of black fathers, which poses the bigger threat to the black community? To his credit, he said, without missing a beat, the absence of black fathers. And that is the number one, number two, number three, number four, and number five problem in the black community. And a kid today is less likely to be born under a roof with his biological mother and biological father than a kid during slavery. In 1965, 25% of black kids were born outside of wedlock. Now that number is almost 70%. Right. You cannot blame that on slavery. Right. Clearly, 2019 is less racist than 1965, which is less racist than 1865. That is the number one problem facing the black community. And forget about Larry Elder. Obama said a kid who does not have a father in the house is 5 times more likely to be poor, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, 20 times more likely to end up in jail. It is far and away the number one problem. Now, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that problem other than tell people to change their behavior, change their attitude, and behave more responsibly?
Right. Well, I also think that the source of all that, all of those statistics is really our marriage to the government. That's what happened. If you want to talk about systemic, I always say, is there systemic racism? Yeah, there's a noose and you can hang yourself with it if you want to go and take from the government. Yeah, you'll find it. It's been systemized to make sure that you will never, ever get off of the government handouts. I know that because I lived it. Right. I literally have family members that are trying to figure out how to scam the government so they can keep this small check without realizing. And the government sets it up that they don't want to get rid of it. The government comes to you and they say, here is $1,000 a month that I will give you, right? If you make more in your real life, you make $1,001, we're going to take your $1,000. Now you only make one. So, I mean, you understand why they develop this mentality of, well, I can't make $1,001. But then your whole life, you're not making more than $1,001. And you see that in our community. It's so pervasive and no one wants to talk about it. And this system was created by an avowed racist, Lyndon Baines Johnson, right, who is celebrated in our textbooks as a hero to Black America. Okay? Margaret Sanger is celebrated in our textbooks as a hero to Black America. She's celebrated in museums, just so you know. Museums in D.C., I can't remember which museum I went to a few weeks ago, and it was honoring Margaret Sanger as like this woman who just brought the word forward. She is on record as an avowed racist. She hated Black people. She wanted us exterminated as weeds, and we are learning to celebrate her.
Yeah, she believed in eugenics.
She believed in eugenics.
Let me give a mild defense of LBJ. LBJ gave a speech where he talked about welfare dependency, and he said he feared it. He did not want people to become dependent. He naively thought that that this war on poverty would make people less likely to be dependent. FDR said the same thing when he announced his New Deal program. He did not want people to be. He called welfare a subtle narcotic that destroys initiative. Now they were wrong about the effects of their plans, but their intent was, I believe, to motivate people.
No, I don't think LBJ, because LBJ has that quote, and I've looked it up, and it's not disputed by the left or the right, about saying that basically we got our voting rights, and he wanted to make sure he could give us something, just a little bit, to keep us under their spell. And he said he would have us voting Democrat for the next 200 years.
Yeah, I know the quote you mean.
He could have been
I know the quote you mean. He was talking about the social programs.
Right.
And he thought that would cause Black people to be voting for Democrats for the next 200 years.
Right.
And he's not wrong about that. But he did not, in my opinion, intend for Black people to become dependent and less successful. That was not his goal.
I think that's a matter of debate, because he could have been talking out of both sides of his mouth, and he just hated Black people so much that I can't imagine that he intended for us to get off of our feet.
Well, he was certainly not the most progressive person when he was in the Senate. But for Lyndon Johnson, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 wouldn't have passed.
Yeah, but there's even a little bit. You could go back and you could say that he basically had to sign it. Like, America was burning down, all right? He had just stepped into office, and it was like, sign it or don't. And then after he signed it, it was like, well, now how do we get control of Black people? I think he was like an avowed racist, and there's just a lot of evidence in the way that he was speaking about us using the N-word all the time. Now, you could say that wasn't unique to the time that he was in.
Unfortunately, it sure wasn't.
Yeah, he wasn't the only president that was using that sort of language.